The rain fell like accusations. Yara Okoye stood in line at the Pudurea bus terminal, one hand pressed against her swollen belly, the other clutching a crumpled ticket receipt. The fluorescent lights above buzzed and flickered, casting sickly shadows across faces that never looked up. Around her, announcements crackled in Malay, Mandarin, English, languages she'd learned to navigate but never truly belonged to. 8 months. 8 months since she'd disappeared into the noise of the world. Her headscarf was pulled low, her glasses fogged from the humidity that seeped through every crack in the station's walls. She'd chosen this place deliberately chaotic, anonymous, forgettable. The kind of place where a pregnant Nigerian woman could buy a ticket north and vanish again before anyone noticed. The smell of wet pavement mixed with fried noodles from a nearby stall. Her stomach turned, but not from hunger. It was the dreams that made her nauseous now. Dreams where she woke up in silk sheets that smelled like sandalwood and clean rain. Dreams where hands traced her spine like she was something holy. Dreams where a voice whispered promises in the dark. Jamin. She closed her eyes. Forced herself to breathe. You made the right choice, she told herself for the 1000th time. For the baby. For yourself. But guilt was a living thing inside her chest, wrapped around her ribs like vines. The line moved forward. She shuffled with it, keeping her head down. Just 3 more people. 3 more people and she'd be on a bus heading anywhere but here. Somewhere quieter. Safer. Somewhere his mother's reach couldn't. A hand covered hers on the counter. Warm. Solid. Unbearably familiar. Yara's breath stopped. Her heart slammed against her ribs so hard she thought it might break through. The world narrowed to that single point of contact, his skin against hers, after months of nothing but memory and regret. Did you really think I wouldn't find you? The voice came from behind her, low and controlled, but beneath the control was something raw. Something that made her knees threaten to buckle. She couldn't move. Couldn't turn. If she turned, if she looked at him, everything she'd built, every wall, every reason, every mile of distance would crumble. Yara. Her name in his mouth was a prayer and a command. Look at me. Slowly, painfully, she turned. Kong Jamin stood inches away, and he looked like devastation dressed in an expensive coat. His hair was longer than she remembered, falling slightly into eyes that hadn't slept well in months. His jaw was tight, his shoulders rigid, but his eyes were burning. Where are you watching this from? Yara wanted to ask the universe, wanted to scream at fate itself. But all she could do was stare at the man she'd loved enough to run from. Drop your country below and stay close, because what happens next will break your heart. Behind him, 2 men in dark suits waited by the terminal entrance. Security. His people. Jamin leaned closer, his breath ghosting across her temple. When he spoke, his voice carried a promise that terrified her. He didn't come alone, someone whispered in the crowd, but Yara barely heard. Because Jamin's next words shattered everything. Once I'm inside your life again, I won't stop. 20 months ago, Yara hadn't planned to fall in love in Seoul. She'd come to Korea with a scholarship, a research proposal on sustainable urban development, and enough determination to fill the hollowness her father's death had left behind. Lagos felt too small for her grief, too full of memories. Seoul promised something different, a city that rebuilt itself constantly, where she could study resilience in concrete and steel. The cafe near Hongdae Station became her second home. Terrible coffee, excellent windows, and enough ambient noise to drown out loneliness. She was there, buried in research papers, when the drunk businessman started harassing the young barista. Yara stood up, couldn't help herself, never could when someone weaker needed defending, and that's when Kang Jamin walked into her life. Tall. Expensive suit. Eyes like midnight that assessed the situation in seconds. He didn't raise his voice, didn't threaten. He simply existed with such concentrated authority that the drunk man left. You were about to hit him with your laptop, Jamin observed, turning to Yara. She clutched her computer defensively. I was considering it. Brave. Or reckless. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Kang Jamin. Yara Okoye. His handshake lingered. The research student from Nigeria. You're studying how cities breathe. She blinked. How did you? I heard you talking to Professor Han last week. I was visiting the university. He paused. I work in real estate development. Your ideas about integrating green infrastructure into high-density housing, they stayed with me. That's how it started. He came back the next day. And the next. They talked about architecture, about Lagos and Seoul, about building cities that served people instead of consuming them. Jamin listened like her words were revelations, asked questions that proved he understood not just what she said, but what she meant. 3 weeks in, he invited her to dinner at a restaurant with a Michelin star and a 6-month waiting list. This is too much, she protested, looking at the menu without prices. You're worth it, he said simply. She learned things slowly, carefully. That his family owned half the commercial real estate in Gangnam. That his mother had engineered his entire life, schools, friends, career trajectory. That beneath his polished exterior lived a man who felt like a stranger in his own existence. I don't know who I am without my family's expectations, he admitted one night, walking along the Han River. Cherry blossoms drifted around them like snow. I've been performing my whole life. Then stop performing, Yara said. With me, just be. He kissed her then. Gentle, desperate, like she was oxygen. 6 months later, he proposed on a rooftop garden he'd secretly designed using her research principles: native plants, rainwater collection, community spaces. Marry me, he said. Let me build a life with you that's real. She said yes. The wedding was small, private, his mother's lips pressed into a thin line of disapproval throughout. Mrs. Kang was ice-carved into human shape, all sharp angles and calculating eyes. She cornered Yara at the reception. My son believes in fairy tales, Mrs. Kang said. But you're intelligent enough to know better. This family has standards, expectations. Don't embarrass him by failing to meet them. I love him, Yara replied quietly. Love. Mrs. King smiled without warmth. How quaint. For 8 months, Yara tried. She attended charity galas where women discussed her skin color in whispers they didn't bother hiding. She smiled through family dinners where Mrs. Kong corrected her Korean pronunciation with surgical precision. She watched Jaemin grow tenser, more controlled, the real man she'd fallen in love with disappearing beneath layers of family obligation. Then she got pregnant. She told Jaemin at dawn, in their bedroom overlooking Seoul. He'd wept, holding her like she was miraculous. We're going to be parents. God, Yara, we're going to have a family. For one perfect morning, the world was theirs. Then his mother found out. Yara wasn't supposed to overhear. She'd come home early from the university, was heading upstairs when voices stopped her, Jaemin and his mother in the study, door ajar. A child changes things, Mrs. Kang said. This gives us leverage. Mother, this is my child. Our child. Exactly. An heir. This solidifies your position, but only if handled correctly. The girl needs to understand her place. The child will be raised properly, Korean education, Korean values. She'll have limited influence. You're talking about my wife. I'm talking about protecting this family's legacy. Use this wisely, Jaemin. A child is leverage. Make sure she understands that staying depends on compliance. Silence. Yara waited for Jaemin to defend her. To rage. To tell his mother that their child wasn't a bargaining chip. But he said nothing. That night, after he fell asleep, Yara packed a single bag. She took her passport, her research, and the emergency cash she'd hidden months ago, just in case. She left her wedding ring on the nightstand with a note that said only, I won't raise our child in a cage. She disappeared into the vast anonymity of Southeast Asia. Malaysia had been accidental. Yara's university friend, Amara, worked in Kuala Lumpur, a systems analyst with spare rooms and no questions. For 8 months, Yara had lived quietly. She taught English to refugees, worked on her dissertation remotely, and tried to build a life that didn't feel like mourning. But every night, she dreamed of Jaemin. Every morning, she woke with guilt gnawing at her ribs. Had she been wrong? Had she run too quickly, judged too harshly? But then she'd remember Mrs. Kang's voice, a child is leverage, and Jaemin's silence, and she knew love shouldn't require this much surrender. She'd found a cheap apartment 2 weeks ago, preparing for the baby. She'd chosen a name, Chisholm, God walks with me. A reminder that even alone, she wasn't abandoned. She'd almost convinced herself she'd be okay. Then tonight happened. She'd come to the bus station to buy tickets north, to a smaller city where no one would look for her, where she could raise her child in peace. She'd been 3 people away from disappearing forever. Now Jaemin stood before her, solid and real, and every defense she'd built crumbled. How did you find me? Her voice came out broken. His jaw tightened. I never stopped looking. Not for one day. Why? Tears burned her eyes. Why now? Your mother wanted control. You wanted. You. The word cut through everything. I wanted you. I've only ever wanted you. You let her talk about our baby like. I was terrified. His composure fractured. Around them, people stared, but Jaemin didn't notice. My mother destroys everything beautiful in my life. I thought if I stayed quiet, if I played along, I could protect you. I was going to tell her no, I was planning to move us away from her, but you heard that conversation and his breath hitched. You were gone. You should have defended me then. In that moment. I know. His eyes glistened. I know. And I'll regret that silence until I die. Yara wanted to collapse. To run. To fall into his arms and damn the consequences. But before she could choose, a figure approached from the terminal entrance. Amara, her face ashen with fear. Yara, she gasped. Men came to your apartment. They took your documents. Your passport. She glanced at Jaemin, recognition and panic flashing across her features. They know everything. Jaemin's expression went cold, lethal. My mother. He turned back to Yara, and for the first time, she saw past the polish to the desperation underneath. You're in danger. Real danger. And I'm not asking you to forgive me or trust me or love me again. His hand hovered near hers, not touching. But please, let me keep you safe. The terminal felt smaller suddenly, the air thinner. Yara's hand instinctively covered her belly, protective, while her mind raced through impossible options. Run again? Where? How far could a woman 8 months pregnant actually get? Jaemin's eyes tracked her thoughts like he could read them. Don't, he said quietly. Don't run again. Not this time. Why shouldn't I? Yara's voice shook with fury and fear. The only danger I was ever in was you. Your family. Your world that treats people like assets to acquire. You're right. His admission caught her off guard. My world is dangerous. My mother is dangerous. And right now, she's hunting you. Amara stepped closer, her hand finding Yara's arm. He's telling the truth. The men who came, they weren't police. They were private security. They showed me photos of you, asked questions about your routine, your medical appointments. Her voice dropped. They know about the baby's due date. Yara's blood turned to ice. Jaemin continued, his words precise, controlled, the tone of a man delivering terrible news he wished he could soften. My mother has been watching you for 3 weeks. She knows where you shop, where you teach, which clinic you visit. She has lawyers ready to file custody paperwork the moment Chisholm is born. In Korea, with our family's resources and your status as a foreign national who fled the country. He paused, the weight of unspoken consequences hanging between them. She'll take the baby. And there's nothing you'll be able to do about it. No. The word came out strangled. No, she can't. She can. She will. Jaemin's composure cracked at the edges. Unless you let me protect you. Protect me? Yara laughed, bitter and broken. Like you protected me before? When you sat silent while she talked about using our child as leverage. He flinched like she'd struck him. I failed you then. I know. But I'm not that man anymore. Prove it. Let me. He took a careful step closer, hands visible, non-threatening, like approaching something wild and wounded. I have a place outside the city. Secure. Private. She can't reach you there. I can buy us time to figure this out, to find a legal solution that keeps Chisholm safe. Us. Yara shook her head. There is no us. There hasn't been for 8 months. Then let me earn it back. His voice went raw, desperate. Let me prove I've changed. That I'll fight for you this time. That I'll burn down everything, my family, my name, my entire world, before I let anyone hurt you or our child. Words, Yara whispered. You're good with words. Then watch my actions. He pulled out his phone, made a call. Minho. Activate the safe house. Full security detail. Yes. Immediately. He hung up, met her eyes. I'm offering you protection, Yara. A private home with security that answers to me, not my mother. Medical care from doctors she can't intimidate. Time to rest, to prepare for Chisholm's birth without looking over your shoulder. And when you're ready, when you're strong, we fight her. Together. And what do you get out of this? The question seemed to pain him. A chance. Just a chance to be near you again. To prove I'm not the coward who let you walk away. I'd rather run again than cage my child in your world. But even as she said it, exhaustion pulled at her bones. She was so tired of running. So tired of fear. This isn't a cage. Jamin stepped closer, close enough that she could see the sleepless nights written in the shadows under his eyes, the slight tremor in his hands he fought to control. It's a fortress. And you hold the key. You want to leave? I'll drive you myself. You want me gone? I'll sleep in my car outside the gates. You want to hate me forever? I'll accept that. But please, Yara. Please let me keep you safe. Once I'm inside your life again, I won't stop. Not this time. Not until you're safe. Not until you choose me, not because you're afraid, but because you want to. The words hung in the humid air. Around them, the station continued its chaotic rhythm, announcements, footsteps, lives intersecting and diverging. But in their bubble, time suspended. Yara looked at Amara. Her friend's face was pale, frightened. They knew things, Yara. Things only someone watching closely would know. When you're most vulnerable. When you're alone. A contraction rippled through Yara's belly, not labor, just Braxton Hicks, but enough to steal her breath. Jamin's hand twitched toward her, then stopped, respecting the distance she'd demanded. I need guarantees, Yara said finally. I need to know this isn't just another way to control me. Name them. Any terms you want. My own room. My own space. You don't touch me without permission. And if I say I'm leaving, you let me go. No games. No manipulation. Done. No hesitation. Anything else? I need Amara with me. Already arranged. I have a guest suite prepared. He'd planned this. Down to the smallest detail. The realization sent conflicting emotions through her, gratitude and resentment tangled together. Another contraction. Stronger this time. Yara gasped, and Jamin was there, supporting her elbow with infinite gentleness. We need to go, he said softly. Please, Yara. Let me do this one thing right. She thought of Chisholm. Of the life growing inside her that depended on her making smart choices, not just proud ones. She thought of Mrs. King's cold eyes and colder ambitions. She thought of how tired she was of being afraid. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Relief transformed Jamin's face. Thank you. I swear to you I'll. Don't make promises you can't keep, Yara interrupted. Just get us somewhere safe. He nodded, already moving, one hand hovering near the small of her back without touching. His security team materialized, the two men from the entrance, plus a woman in discreet business attire who introduced herself as Dr. Yoon. I'm an obstetrician, she explained gently. I'll be available whenever you need me. They moved through the terminal like a small hurricane, purposeful and swift. Outside, rain still fell in sheets. A black SUV waited, engine running. Jamin opened the door himself, one hand shielding Yara from the rain. She climbed in. Amara followed. Then Jamin, careful to leave space between them. The door closed. The driver pulled into traffic. And Yara watched Kuala Lumpur blur past the windows, wondering if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life, or the only choice that would save it. Inside the car, silence stretched taut. Rain drummed on the roof, rhythmic, hypnotic. Yara kept her hands folded over her belly. Jamin sat perfectly still, but she could feel his awareness of her like heat. Their hands rested on the leather seat. His pinky finger was inches from hers. Neither moved to close the distance. But the wanting filled every molecule of air between them. The penthouse sat on the outskirts of Cyberjaya, surrounded by palm trees and silence. Glass walls overlooked a private lake. Inside, everything was modern, minimalist, and impersonal, like a five-star hotel designed by someone who'd never understood the concept of home. Yara stood in the main room, Amara beside her, while Jamin dismissed his security team with quiet instructions. "The guest suite is down that hall," he said to Amara, gesturing. "Fully furnished. Private bathroom. Help yourself to anything in the kitchen." Amara squeezed Yara's hand before leaving them alone. The silence stretched. "Your room is upstairs," Jamin said finally. "Master bedroom. I'll take one of the smaller rooms down here." Yara turned to him. "You're giving me the master bedroom? It has the better view. More privacy. An attached bathroom with a tub designed for." He stopped, recalibrated. "For comfort. I thought you might want that." Something in her chest cracked. He'd thought about her comfort. Planned for it. "Thank you," she managed. He nodded, hands in his pockets, maintaining careful distance. "You must be exhausted. I'll have food sent up." "I'm not hungry. You need to eat." "For Chisholm." The name in his mouth undid something in her. She'd thought about their baby as hers alone for so long that hearing him claim their child with such quiet possession felt like an invasion and a relief all at once. "Fine. Something light." Jamin made a call. 15 minutes later, a tray arrived: miso soup, rice, grilled fish, cut fruit. Her favorites from their time in Seoul. Foods she'd craved but denied herself because they reminded her too much of him. "You remembered," she whispered. "I remember everything." His eyes held hers. "Every meal. Every conversation. Every morning you woke up with your hair a disaster and still looked like the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen." "Don't." She couldn't handle tenderness right now. "Don't do this." "Do what?" "Make me remember loving you." Jamin's expression shuddered. "I'll let you rest." He moved toward the stairs, then paused. "If you need anything at all, I'm here. Just call." He disappeared downstairs, leaving Yara alone with food that tasted like nostalgia and regret. Day 2. Yara woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory crashed back, the station, Jamin's hand on hers, the choice that wasn't really a choice. She showered, dressed in the clothes someone had unpacked for her, Amara, probably, and ventured downstairs. The kitchen was empty, but coffee was made. Fresh pastries sat on the counter. A note in Jamin's precise handwriting, outhandling security details. "Back by noon. Call if you need anything. Jay." Amara emerged from her suite, looking surprisingly well-rested. "This place is insane. Did you see the view? It's a prison with better architecture." "It's safety, Yara. That's not nothing." Yara wanted to argue, but she was too tired. Too confused. Her emotions were a knot she couldn't untangle: anger at Jamin, longing for him, fear of his mother, exhaustion from months of running, and underneath it all, a traitorous hope she didn't want to name. She spent the morning on the balcony, watching egrets wade in the lake. Her hand moved in unconscious circles over her belly. Chisholm kicked, active and strong, and Yara whispered promises. "I'll keep you safe. I'll give you better than what I had. You'll be loved freely, without conditions." True to his word, Jamin returned at noon. He found her on the balcony, brought her fresh mango juice without asking. "How are you feeling?" he asked, keeping respectful distance. "Trapped." He winced. "I know this isn't ideal." "Do you?" She turned to him. "Why now, Jamin?" 8 months. 8 months you could have come after me, could have fought for me. Why wait until I'm vulnerable, pregnant, backed into a corner? Because I'm a coward." The admission came without hesitation. "I told myself I was giving you space. That you'd come back when you were ready." But the truth. His jaw worked. "I was terrified. Terrified that you'd look at me the way you're looking at me now, like I'm the villain in your story. And you'd be right. I chose survival over you. I let my mother's words go unchallenged because I was afraid of the war that would follow if I stood up to her. And I will regret that silence until the day I die." Yara's throat tightened. She wanted to stay angry, but his honesty disarmed her. "When did you start looking for me?" she asked quietly. "The morning after you left. I woke up, found your ring and that note, and felt my entire world collapse. I've had investigators searching 3 countries. I've called every favor I'm owed. I haven't stopped, Yara. Not once. Your mother must love that. My mother and I aren't speaking." That surprised her. "What?" "I told her the day you left that if she ever threatened you or our child again, I'd destroy everything she's built. Every business deal, every social connection, every carefully constructed alliance. I'd burn it all down. But you're still part of that world. Still playing by their rules. For now. But I'm building an exit." He pulled out his phone, showed her documents, property transfers, asset liquidations, corporate restructuring. "I'm divesting from the family business. Slowly, carefully, so she can't stop me. In 6 months, I'll be free of her completely." Yara stared at the documents, her heart racing. "Why?" "Because you were right. That world is a cage. And I won't raise our child in one." Before she could respond, his phone rang. His expression darkened as he answered. "Mother." Even from feet away, Yara could hear Mrs. Kang's crisp tones. "I want to meet with her." "With Yara. This afternoon." "No." "It wasn't a request, Jaemin. I'm her mother-in-law. I have rights. You have nothing. And you'll get nothing until you can treat my wife with respect." "Your wife?" Mrs. Kang's laugh was acid. "She abandoned you. Abandoned her marriage. Why are you protecting someone who clearly doesn't want you?" Jaemin's eyes found Yara's. "Because I love her. And because, unlike you, I believe love isn't about ownership." The line went dead. Silence filled the balcony, heavy with everything unspoken. "You stood up to her," Yara whispered. "I should have done it 8 months ago." That night, Yara couldn't sleep. She wandered downstairs at 2 a.m., found Jaemin on the living room couch, laptop open, surrounded by legal documents. "You should be resting," she said. He looked up surprised. "So should you." Chisholm's restless. "Won't stop kicking." Something softened in his expression. Could I feel?" Yara hesitated, then nodded. Jaemin crossed to her slowly, like approaching something precious. He knelt, and Yara guided his hand to where Chisholm was actively protesting her existence. A kick, strong and defiant. Jaemin's breath caught. "Oh my God. That's your child," Yara said softly. "Stubborn. Strong. Probably going to give us hell. Chisholm J." His voice broke on the name. "You chose J. Our baby deserves both of us. Both our cultures. Both our—" She stopped, unable to finish. "Both our love," Jaemin completed quietly. His hand remained on her belly, reverent. "I don't deserve this. Don't deserve you. Maybe not. But Chisholm deserves a father who fights." His eyes lifted to hers, shining with unshed tears. "I'll fight. I promise you, Yara. I'll fight until there's nothing left of me." The moment stretched, fragile and charged. Yara became hyper-aware of his proximity, his hand on her skin, the way he looked at her like she held every answer to every question he'd ever asked. She pulled back first. Had to. Because if she didn't, she'd do something stupid like forgive him before he'd fully earned it. "I should sleep," she murmured. "Of course." He stood, creating distance. "Good night, Yara." She was halfway up the stairs when she turned back. "Jaemin." "Yes. Thank you. For standing up to her. For this." She gestured at the penthouse, at the safety he'd built around her. "I'm still angry. Still hurt. But thank you." His smile was sad and hopeful all at once. Good night. Day 5. The relative peace shattered when Yara found the file. She'd been looking for a book in Jaemin's study. He'd said she could use anything when a folder slipped from the shelf. Photos scattered across the floor. Sunny Park. Stunning. Elegant. Wearing a cream dress at a charity gala, standing beside Jaemin in his tuxedo. Another photo, them at a corporate dinner, her hand on his arm. Another, a candid shot where she was laughing at something he'd said. The dates all within the last 6 months. While Yara had been running, hiding, growing their child alone, Jaemin had been What? Moving on? Footsteps behind her. Yara. Jaemin's voice careful. That's not. Who is she? The words came out sharp as glass. Sunhee Park. She's your replacement for me? Yara's hands shook. Someone more appropriate? More acceptable to your mother? No. God, no. He moved closer, saw the devastation on her face, stopped. She was my mother's choice. After you left, Mother demanded I maintain appearances, said I needed to be seen with someone suitable to calm investors, to prevent scandal. So you dated her. I attended events with her. That's all. These look pretty cozy for just appearances. Yara, please. But she was already moving past him, up the stairs, the photos clutched in her hand like evidence of betrayal. Behind her, she heard him call her name, heard the anguish in his voice, but she couldn't stop. Couldn't breathe past the pain lodged in her chest. In her room, door locked, she finally let herself break. Yara sat on her bed, photos spread around her like shrapnel. Each image felt like a small violence, Sunhee's perfect smile, her hand on Jaemin's arm, the easy way they stood together like they belonged in the same frame. The knock came softly. Yara. Please. Let me explain. Go away. I can't. Not until you hear the truth. The truth? She yanked the door open, photos clutched in her fist. The truth is in these pictures. While I was sleeping in Amara's spare room, teaching English to refugees for pennies, growing our child alone, you were playing house with someone else. That's not what happened. Then what? She threw the photos at him. They fluttered between them like dying birds. Tell me what I'm supposed to see here, Jaemin. Because all I see is you moving on. His composure finally cracked. You want the truth? Fine. Sunhee Park was my mother's choice. The daughter of a business associate, educated at Oxford, fluent in 4 languages, everything a Kung wife should be according to my family's standards. His voice turned bitter. 2 weeks after you left, my mother informed me I would be seen publicly with Sunhee. Not dating. Not courting. Being seen. To maintain appearances, to reassure investors that the family was stable, that I was stable. So you just complied? No. I fought. I told her I was married, that I loved my wife, that no one could replace you. He stepped closer, eyes burning. And you know what she said? She said she'd already contacted immigration officials in Malaysia. That she had lawyers ready to flag your visa, to have you deported back to Nigeria where she could ensure you'd never see our child. She had investigators tracking your movements, ready to destroy any chance you had of finishing your degree, of building a life. Yara's breath caught. You're lying. I wish I were. Jaemin pulled out his phone, showed her emails, cold, clinical communications between his mother and various officials. She was going to destroy you, Yara. Systematically. Professionally. Personally. Unless I cooperated. So you prepared a replacement while I was running for my life? I was trying to survive their control long enough to get you back. His voice rose, raw with 8 months of suppressed anguish. Every event I attended with Sunhee, I was making deals, moving assets, building a way out. Every smile for the cameras was me buying time. Every moment I stood beside her, I was thinking of you. That's supposed to make me feel better? It's supposed to make you understand. I never touched her. Never kissed her. Never for 1 second forgot that you're the only woman I've ever loved. He ran his hands through his hair, the careful polish finally shattering. Sunhee knew. She always knew. My mother told her I was in love with someone else, that this was purely transactional. Sunhee agreed because her family needed the social connection. It was business. Cold, ugly business that made me hate myself every single day. Yara wanted to stay angry, but doubt crept in. If this was all some noble sacrifice, why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you fight harder? Because you were free. The words burst from him like they'd been caged too long. For the first time since you married me, you were free of my mother's scrutiny, free of the expectations that were crushing you. Yes, I was searching for you. Yes, I wanted you back. But I also knew, his voice broke. I knew you were probably happier without me. Without my family's poison. And maybe you deserved that happiness more than I deserved you. Tears burned Yara's eyes. That wasn't your choice to make. I know. I know. He moved to the desk, started pulling papers from a locked drawer. You want to know what I've been doing? Look. Look at all of it. Documents spilled across the surface. Yara approached slowly, her heart pounding. Legal papers. Asset transfers. Corporate resignations. This is the deed to my shares in Kong Industries, transferred to a trust fund for Chisholm. He pointed to another stack. These are resignations from every board position my family appointed me to. And this, he held up a thick folder. This is a legal separation agreement from the family business. I've been dismantling everything, piece by piece. Every connection, every obligation, every chain that bound me to them. When did you start this? The week after you left. It's taken 8 months because I had to be careful. If my mother suspected what I was doing, she'd have frozen everything, tied it up in litigation for years. But as of 3 days ago, he showed her a final document with fresh signatures. I'm done. Legally severed from Kong Industries. The only thing still connecting me to that family is blood and a name I'm seriously considering changing. Yara stared at the papers, her world tilting. You've been planning this the whole time? Every day. Every hour. While I smiled at galas and stood beside Sunhee for photos, I was quietly burning down everything my family built. Because none of it matters without you. Jaemin. Her voice came out broken. He dropped to his knees before her, hands shaking. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking you to trust me overnight or forget the pain I caused. I'm just asking you to let me prove I've changed. That I'm not the man who stayed silent when his mother threatened you. I'm asking for a chance to show you that I'll fight, really fight for us. Yara looked down at him, this powerful man on his knees, undone by love and regret, and something inside her chest gave way. She touched his face, her fingers trembling, tears falling unchecked. I want to believe you, she whispered. God, I want to believe you so badly. But I'm terrified. Terrified that I'll let you back in and you'll break me again. Terrified that your mother will find some new way to control us. Terrified that love isn't enough. It might not be. His honesty gutted her. But it's all I have to offer. My love and my promise that I will spend every day earning your trust back. That I will put you and Chisholm first, always. That I will never again choose comfort over courage. Their faces were inches apart. Yara could see every sleepless night written in the shadows under his eyes, every moment of grief etched in the lines around his mouth. He looked like a man who'd been to war with himself and barely survived. I never stopped loving you, she admitted, the words costing her everything. Not for one day. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't stop. Yara. She kissed him before she could talk herself out of it. Soft at first. Tentative. Like relearning a language she'd once spoken fluently. But then Jaemin's hand came up to cradle her face and the kiss deepened, desperate, aching, full of 8 months of longing and loss and love that refused to die. He kissed her like she was oxygen. Like she was salvation. Like he'd been drowning and finally found the surface. When they broke apart, both were shaking. I'm still angry, Yara managed. I know. And I'm still scared. I know. He pressed his forehead to hers. But we'll figure it out. Together. I promise you. His phone shattered the moment with its shrill ring. Jaemin's expression darkened as he glanced at the screen. Security. He answered, listened, and went pale. How many? When? Hold them at the gate. We're leaving now. What's wrong? Yara's hand instinctively covered her belly. My mother's people. They're at the gate with a court order demanding entry for a welfare check. His voice turned lethal. She's trying to force access to you, to establish grounds for custody claims. What do? We leave. Now. He was already moving, grabbing a bag, making calls. Minho, bring the car to the service entrance. Route 7. No headlights until we're clear. Terror crystallized in Yara's chest. Where will we go? Somewhere she'll never find us. He took her hand, his grip firm and sure. I have one more safe house. Remote. Off any grid she knows about. But Yara, he met her eyes. Once we go there, we're committed. To this fight. To each other. To making a stand. Are you ready for that? She thought of Chisholm. Of the life she wanted to give their child, free of manipulation, free of fear. Yes, she said. Let's go. They ran. The cabin sat 3 hours north, hidden in the hills of Pahang where the jungle pressed close and the nearest neighbor was miles away. No glass walls here. No modern elegance. Just weathered wood, a tin roof, and silence so complete it felt like sanctuary or tomb depending on the moment. Amara had chosen to stay behind, to give Yara and Jamin space to figure out what they were becoming. Call me if you need anything, she'd said, hugging Yara tight. And for what it's worth, he looks at you like you're his entire world. Now Yara stood on the small porch, watching dawn break over the canopy, while Jamin spoke quietly on the phone inside. She'd heard fragments of the conversation through the open window: lawyers, injunctions, custody proceedings. His world was collapsing. Because of her. Because he'd chosen her. When he emerged, his face was drawn. My mother's filed emergency custody papers. She's claiming you're mentally unstable, that you abandoned your marriage, and are now keeping me from my family against my will. That's insane. That's her. He leaned against the railing, exhaustion evident in every line of his body. Her lawyers are good, Yara. The best. They're arguing that you fled the country while pregnant, that you've demonstrated an inability to make sound decisions, that the child would be better off in stable family care. Meaning her care. Yes. Can she actually win? The pause before he answered told her everything. With enough money and influence? Maybe. International custody cases are complicated. You're Nigerian, I'm Korean. The baby will be born in Malaysia. There are jurisdictional nightmares that could be exploited by someone with resources. Yara's hand covered her belly protectively. Chisholm kicked, strong and insistent, as if sensing her mother's fear. What do we do? She whispered. We fight. I have lawyers working on counterfilings. We establish your residency here, document your mental competence, build a case that you're a fit mother who left an abusive family situation. But it takes time. And time is something we're running out of. You're due in 3 weeks, Yara. If my mother's lawyers can establish any kind of temporary custody arrangement before Chisholm is born. He didn't finish. Didn't need to. This is exactly what I was afraid of, Yara said, her voice hollow. Your world will never let us go. It'll keep reaching, keep taking, until there's nothing left. That's not true. Isn't it? She turned to him, tears streaming. Your mother has lawyers, money, power. What do we have? A cabin in the jungle and hope? That's not enough. It'll never be enough. We have each other. Maybe that's not enough either. The words came out cruel, desperate. Maybe I should just disappear again. Really disappear this time. Somewhere she can't find me. Yara, no. Or maybe, her voice cracked. Maybe you should give them what they want. Go back. Marry Sunhee. Let your mother win. I'll sign whatever papers you need. You can have visitation with Chisholm. But at least this way, you keep your life. Your family. Everything you've built. Stop. Jamin crossed to her, gripped her shoulders. Stop saying things you don't mean. Who says I don't mean them? But she was sobbing now. I can't watch you lose everything because of me. I can't be the reason you're destroyed. You're not destroying me. You're the only thing keeping me alive. His voice turned raw. Without you, without Chisholm, what am I? A name on a building? A signature on contracts? That's not life, Yara. That's existence. And I'm done existing. But his phone rang. He ignored it. It rang again. And again. Finally, he answered. What? Even from feet away, Yara could hear his mother's icy tones. 48 hours, Jamin. That's what you have. Return to Seoul. Make a public statement supporting the family. End this embarrassing rebellion. Do that, and I'll drop the custody filing. And if I don't? Then I'll bury her. Publicly. Professionally. I'll ensure she's deported, blacklisted from every academic institution, painted as a mentally unstable woman who kidnapped my grandson. I have 5 news outlets ready to run the story. I have immigration officials prepared to flag her in every country in Southeast Asia. By the time I'm done, she'll have nothing. No reputation. No future. No way to support that child. Silence stretched like a blade. You destroy an innocent woman to control me? Jaemin's voice was barely recognizable. I'd do anything to protect this family. Even from you. Mrs. Kang's tone turned almost gentle, which made it more terrifying. Come home, Jaemin, accept Sun-hee. Play your role. You can still see your child, supervised visits, generous support. Yara can live her life elsewhere. Everyone wins. Except me. Except Yara. Except our child who grows up thinking love is transactional. Love is transactional. The sooner you accept that, the happier you'll be. A pause. 48 hours. Make the right choice. The line went dead. Jaemin stood frozen, phone in his hand, face ashen. When he finally looked at Yara, his eyes held devastation. You should go, she whispered. What? Go back to Seoul. Give her what she wants. This isn't worth. Don't. He crossed to her in 2 strides. Don't you dare tell me what's worth it. You're worth it. Chisholm is worth it. This, us, is the only thing in my entire life that's ever been worth fighting for. But she'll destroy me anyway. You heard her. She has the power to. I don't care. His hands framed her face. Let her try. Let her throw every resource she has at us. I'm not leaving you. Not again. Not ever. Jaemin, be reasonable. I can't lose you again. I won't survive it. You don't get to make that choice for me. Yara pushed him away, anger and fear warring in her chest. This is my life. My future. And I won't let you sacrifice everything on some noble gesture that might not even work. It's not a gesture. It's a choice. My choice. And I'm choosing you. Well, maybe I'm choosing differently. Maybe I'm choosing to let you go before this destroys us both. The words hung between them like smoke from a fire that couldn't be put out. Jaemin stared at her, something breaking in his expression. You don't mean that. Maybe I do. But her voice cracked, betraying her. Maybe the kindest thing I can do is let you have your life back. My life is you. It shouldn't be. It can't be. Not like this. Silence filled the cabin, heavy and suffocating. Outside, birds called to each other, indifferent to human suffering. I need to go back to Seoul, Jaemin said finally, his voice hollow. I need to face her. To try one more time to make her understand. Okay, but I'm coming back, Yara. I swear to you, I'm coming back. She couldn't look at him. Don't make promises you can't keep. I love you. I know. Tears fell, hot and silent. I love you too. That's why I'm letting you go. Jaemin pressed a kiss to her forehead, tender, devastating, and then he was gone. The sound of his car faded into the jungle, leaving Yara alone with her grief and her fear and the child kicking insistently beneath her heart. 12 hours later. The contractions started at midnight. Yara woke to pain radiating through her lower back, sharp and insistent. Too early. 3 weeks too early. But Chisholm had always been stubborn, always determined to make an entrance on their own terms. She reached for her phone. No signal. The remote cabin that had felt like safety now felt like a trap. Another contraction. Stronger. Closer. No, she whispered to her belly. Not yet. Please, not yet. But Chisholm wasn't listening. In Seoul, Jaemin stood in his childhood home, facing his mother across a mahogany desk that had witnessed decades of cold negotiations. Mrs. Kang sat like a queen, composed and certain of her victory. I'm glad you came to your senses, she said. I didn't come to surrender. Jaemin's voice was steel. I came to tell you in person that you've already lost. Her eyebrow arched. Bold words for a man with nothing. I have everything that matters. And you're offering me what? Money I don't need? Status I don't want? A marriage to a woman I don't love. He leaned forward. Keep it all. Every building, every account, every connection. I'm done. You'll be nothing without this family. I'll be free. And I'll be with the woman I love. That's not nothing, that's everything. Mrs. Kang's composure finally cracked. She's made you weak. She's made me human. Jaemin straightened. I choose her. I choose our child. And I will burn every bridge to this family if that's what it takes. Then you'll have nothing. No name, no protection. And when her world collapses, and it will, Jaemin, I'll make sure of it, she'll blame you. She'll hate you. And you'll realize too late that love isn't enough. Then I'll have everything that matters. He turned to leave, then paused. I'm sorry you never learned the difference between power and love, Mother. I'm sorry you're so afraid of vulnerability that you'd rather control than connect. But I'm done being afraid. I'm done being controlled. And I'm done with you. He walked out of his childhood home for the last time, his phone already in his hand, already dialing Yara's number. It went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Nothing. A cold fist of fear closed around his heart as he ran for his car, already knowing, somehow knowing, that everything was about to fall apart. The rain in Pahang didn't just fall, it screamed against the windshield. Jamin pushed the SUV to its absolute limit, the tires hydroplaning over slick mountain passes. His knuckles were white, his jaw locked in a silent prayer. Pick up. Please, Yara, pick up. Every time the call went to voicemail, a fresh spike of adrenaline hit his heart. He knew his mother. He knew her reach. Had she sent men? Had they taken her? The thought of Yara alone in that dark cabin, terrified and vulnerable, made his vision blur with a mix of rage and despair. He had burned his world down for her tonight, but if he arrived to find her gone, he would be standing in the ashes of a life he no longer wanted. By the time he skidded into the cabin's clearing, the porch light was a dim, mocking glow. He burst through the door, his heart stopping at the sight of the empty living room. Yara! The silence was deafening. Then he saw it, the phone on the floor, dead. And beside it, a smear of water. Not rain. She had broken her water. Alone. God, no, he whispered, his knees nearly giving out. He scrambled back to the car, his mind racing. Where would she go? Amara. He dialed as he tore back down the mountain. Amara. Where is she? Hospital, Jamin. The rural clinic in Bentong. She's in labor, it's too early, she's losing blood. The world narrowed to the black strip of asphalt beneath his headlights. He didn't remember the drive. He only remembered the smell of antiseptic and the flickering fluorescent lights as he burst into the clinic, wild-eyed and soaked to the bone. He found Amara in the corridor. Before he could speak, she pointed to a door. She's been asking for you. Even when she was screaming in pain, she was whispering your name. Jamin pushed inside. The room was small, cramped, and filled with the sharp, metallic scent of transition. Yara was a ghost of herself, hair matted to her forehead, her eyes clouded with agony. Yara, he choked out, dropping to his knees by her bed. She turned her head slowly. The anger from the cabin was gone, replaced by a raw, primal need. You came, she sobbed, her hand reaching out blindly. I'll always come, he vowed, catching her hand and pressing it to his lips. I'm here. I'm never leaving again. I walked away from them, Yara. I'm just Jamin now. No titles, no empire. Just yours. A contraction seized her, and she gripped his hand with a strength that felt like it could crush bone. He didn't flinch. He leaned in close, his forehead against hers, whispering through the chaos. I'm sorry for every second I let you feel alone. I'm sorry I let my mother's shadow touch you. I will spend 100 lifetimes making it up to you. Just breathe, my love. Breathe for me. For 3 hours, he was her anchor. He held her through the screams, through the moments she felt she couldn't go on, through the terrifying silence when the doctors moved with frantic speed. Then, a sound broke through the tension, a thin, sharp wail that filled the small room. The doctor held up a tiny, squirming life. A boy. He's small, but he's strong. Jamin felt the air leave his lungs. He watched as they cleaned the baby and placed him on Yara's chest. The change in her was instantaneous. The pain vanished, replaced by a look of such profound, exhausted love that Jamin felt his soul crack open. Chisholm J, Yara whispered, her voice a thread of silk. Jamin touched the infant's tiny, wrinkled hand, his own fingers trembling. He looked at Yara, seeing her for the warrior she was. I have something to tell you, he whispered, leaning over them both. I didn't just leave. I transferred the last of my private holdings, the trust accounts, and the deeds to the properties I owned outside the family. They're all in your name now. All of it. Yara blinked, confused. Why? Because you were afraid I would trap you, he said, tears finally falling. I wanted you to know that you are completely, utterly free. You have the resources to go anywhere, to do anything. If you stay with me, it's not because you need my protection or my money. It's because you choose me. Every door is open, Yara. I'm just standing here hoping you'll invite me in. Yara looked from her son to the man who had stripped himself of everything to prove his devotion. She reached up, pulling his head down to hers. Stay, she whispered against his lips. Forever, he promised. 3 months had transformed the world. The modest apartment in Kuala Lumpur smelled of baby powder and strong Nigerian spices. There were no marble floors or silent servants, only the sound of a ticking clock and the soft hum of the air conditioner. Jamin was in the kitchen, awkwardly trying to master a jollof rice recipe Amara had given him, when the buzzer rang. He looked at the security monitor and froze. Yara, he called out softly. Yara emerged from the bedroom, Chisholm asleep against her shoulder. She looked at the screen and saw the unmistakable silhouette of Mrs. Kong standing in the hallway, stripped of her usual entourage. Let her in, Yara said, her voice steady. When the door opened, the older woman stepped inside, her eyes immediately darting to the child. She looked older, the sharp lines of her face softened by a defeat she hadn't yet admitted to. He has the Kong eyes, she murmured, reaching out a hand. Yara stepped back, her expression iron. He has his father's heart. And you don't get to touch him, Mrs. Kong. Not until you understand that he is not an asset. He is a person. And he will never, ever be used to leverage power. Mrs. Kang looked at Jamin, who stood behind Yara, his hand resting protectively on the small of her back. You live like this? In this box? You could have had the world. I have the world, Jamin said, his voice devoid of the old fear. You taught me that power was about how many people you could force to stay. But Yara taught me that real power is being a man someone wants to stay for. I'm happy, Mother. For the first time in my life, I am not a pawn. I'm a father. I'm a partner. You have no power here because you have nothing we want. The silence stretched. Mrs. Kang looked around the room, at the cheap furniture, the stacks of Yara's research papers, the scattered baby toys. She saw the way Jamin looked at Yara, not with the wary obedience he'd shown his family, but with a reverence that was almost holy. She turned and left without another word. She didn't apologize, she wasn't capable of it, but the way her shoulders slumped as she walked down the hall told them the war was over. 2 weeks later, another visitor arrived. Sun Hee Park stood in the doorway, holding a beautifully wrapped parcel. I'm leaving for London tomorrow, she said, her smile sad but genuine as she handed the gift to Yara. It's a traditional Beocian and a silk blanket for the baby. I wanted you to have it. Yara softened, sensing the loneliness beneath the woman's polished exterior. Thank you, Sun-hee. I used to be jealous of you, Sun-hee admitted, looking at Jae-min, but seeing you both. I realize I was jealous of something I didn't even understand. No one ever fought for me. No one ever burned their bridges for me. Jae-min was never mine, and I think, in a way, I always knew he was just a ghost waiting for you to call him back to life. After she left, the apartment felt lighter. The ghosts were gone. That night, after Chisholm had finally settled into a deep sleep, the silence in the apartment shifted from domestic to electric. Jae-min found Yara on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. He stepped behind her, his arms wrapping around her waist. His touch was hesitant, a question he wasn't sure he was allowed to ask yet. They hadn't been intimate since her return. The trauma of the separation and the birth had left them both fragile. Yara, he whispered into her hair. She turned in his arms, her eyes searching his. She saw the man who had slept on a hospital chair for a week, the man who had learned to change diapers with a focused intensity, the man who had given her his entire fortune just to prove she was free. I choose you, she whispered, echoing his words from the hospital. The kiss was slow, a deliberate undoing of months of pain. When he carried her to the bed, it wasn't the frantic passion of their early days in Seoul. It was a covenant. Every touch was a word in a new language. I'm sorry. I'm here. I love you. As he moved inside her, Jae-min felt the last of the walls between them crumble. It was more than physical. It was the merging of two lives that had been torn apart and painstakingly stitched back together. "Once I'm inside your life again, I won't stop," he gasped against her neck, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll spend every day earning this. Earning you." Yara smiled, her fingers tangling in his hair as she pulled him closer, anchoring him to her. "You already have, Jaemin. You're already home." In the quiet after, Yara rested her head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of a heart that beat only for her. "I got the job," she whispered. "The NGO. I start next month." Jaemin chuckled, kissing her temple. "My brilliant wife. You really didn't need saving, did you?" "No," she said, looking up at him with a fierce, bright love. "But I'm so glad you stayed to watch me fly." The community center in Seoul was a hive of vibrant energy, smelling of fresh tea and old books. Yara stood at the head of a small classroom, her hands moving animatedly as she explained the logistics of urban farming to a group of women who, like her once, were trying to find their footing in a land that felt too big and too cold. She looked different now. The fearful girl who had hidden behind oversized glasses in a Kuala Lumpur transit station was gone. In her place was a woman whose posture was a testament to her own resilience. A soft thud at the door made the class turn. Jaemin stood there, looking nothing like the cold air of the Kong Empire. He wore a simple wool sweater and worn jeans, a baby carrier strapped to his chest. Inside, Chisholm, now a chubby, bright-eyed toddler with his mother's curls and his father's contemplative gaze, was busy chewing on a wooden teething ring. "Is the teacher almost done?" Jaemin asked, a playful smirk dancing on his lips. "The student assistant is getting hungry." Yara laughed, the sound bright and easy. 10 minutes, Jaemin." As her students began to pack up, a young woman lingered at the back. She was pale, her hands trembling as she smoothed them over the slight swell of her stomach. She approached Yara, her voice a fragile whisper. "I saw you, with him. With your family. I'm pregnant and I'm so scared. I have no one here." Yara didn't hesitate. She stepped forward and took the woman's cold hands in her own, her grip steadying. "I know that fear," Yara said, her eyes softening with a deep, lived-in empathy. "I know how the world looks when you think you have to carry it alone. But look at me. You are not alone. We're here now." From across the room, Jaemin watched them. He didn't intervene, he simply stood back, honoring the space his wife had built for others. He thought of the high-rise offices and the cold boardrooms he'd left behind. They felt like a fever dream now. His work as a consultant for ethical housing, building homes for families rather than assets for investors, gave him a peace that no amount of Kong's stock ever could. Later that evening, in their apartment overlooking the Han River, the air was warm and still. They lived between two worlds now, months in Malaysia and months in Korea, their lives a bridge between cultures. Little Chisholm was already babbling a chaotic, beautiful mix of Igbo, English, and Korean, a child born of a love that refused to be categorized. Jaemin sat on the floor, stacking blocks for Chisholm, while Yara stirred a pot in the kitchen. He watched the light catch the gold of her wedding band, the way she hummed a song her mother used to sing. "Do you have any regrets, Jaemin?" she asked softly, not looking up from the stove. "About everything you walked away from?" Jaemin stood up, crossing the room to wrap his arms around her from behind. He pressed his face into the crook of her neck, breathing in the scent of home. "Only one," he murmured. "I regret that I didn't fight sooner. I regret every day I let you believe that my family's shadow was stronger than my love for you." "We're here now," she whispered, leaning back into him. "That's what matters." They moved to the balcony as the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the Seoul skyline in bruised purples and burning golds. Chisholm had finally fallen asleep, his head heavy on Jaemin's shoulder. Yara rested her head on her husband's other shoulder, their bodies fit together like two pieces of a broken vessel that had been fused back together with gold. "I choose you," Yara whispered into the twilight. "Every day. In every language." Jaemin kissed her temple, his eyes closing as he felt the steady, rhythmic beat of her heart against his arm. "And I'll never stop choosing you." The city hummed below them, a million lives, a million struggles. But here, in the quiet space they had carved out of the wreckage of their past, there was only peace. Some love stories begin with a spark. Theirs began with a breaking and rebuilt into something unshakable. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more emotional journeys. Do you think Jamin made the right choice by giving up his entire inheritance to prove Yara was free, or should he have kept the money to protect them? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.